Okay, I'm going to give a quick run through on Kelly's CueCut program to rough in some forearm blanks. This is the basic window when you open it up. I'm going to go to the tapered components and I'll walk you through what I'm doing here. Now my lathe axis is in the Y direction, so that's checked. The orientation is headstock to tailstock. I'm going to cut on the left side of the spinner the way it's set up. I'm already set, my X0 position is the center line of the spinner. My Y0 position is the edge of the dowel that's sitting in the headstock. The headstock and tailstock overruns, that's how much your cutter will go above and beyond the length of the dowel that you're cutting. The safe X distance is how far your cutter will retract to stay away from everything. Safe Z position, same thing. Cutting Z position, it defaults to 0, but I'm going to be going to -1.5 inch. So we'll enter that in there. That made this turn red because I changed the default setting. What I can do is go up here to File, Save Defaults, and that takes away the red over there. Down here, these two, the lathe line error and the tailstock offset error, those are to correct for little discrepancies in your spinner setup. Mine actually is set up pretty accurately, so I don't have to tinker with that at all. Now for the tapered butt components, since this is going to be a forearm blank, and I'm starting out with an 1 3/8" dowel, roughly, I want to take it down till the small diameter is 1 inch. I'm just roughing them in. The large diameter, now I have the option of doing that, and it'll figure out what it needs to do to go from this diameter to this diameter over this length. But I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to go with the small diameter and then come down here and tell it what taper to put in. And this particular setting here is pretty close to my default taper. But now my cutting length, these dowels are 13 5/8 long. So I'll enter that in there. And my cutter diameter is actually 1 inch 8/60. So I'll enter that. Feed rate, let's bump that up to 30 because I'm roughing it in. I don't need to take a finish cut, so I'll uncheck that. I'm not going to cut in both directions right now. Actually, I haven't tried that, so we'll try that later. I will wrap it to the safe position after cut, so I'll leave that go. I will wrap it to the depth of cut, and I don't need to pause at the safe X. It's kind of like a last chance to see that everything looks good. But again, I kind of trust this. You know, yeah, I'll leave that there. Okay, now I do cut towards the headstock, so I'll be climb milling since I'm on the left side of the pieces it's spinning. But that's an awful lot of meat to take off from 1 3/8 down to 1 inch. So I'm going to bump that up to 4 passes. But if you notice, when I raised that above 1, it opened up this button here to allow me to dial in an initial dowel diameter. So I'll change that to 1 inch 3/75. And I think that's everything I need. All my settings are okay here. Take it to 1 inch diameter using this taper, feeding at 30 inches per minute over that length, and that's my cutter diameter. I'll take 4 passes. So I create the NC file, but it says the safe distance of 2 is dangerously close to the stock. You must increase the safe X distance. What that is because of that dowel diameter and the large size of my 3-wing cutter, there's a chance that they're going to interfere with one another. So I'll go down to this safe X distance, and I'll make that a little larger. Let's make it 2.2. And see if that'll do it. And yes, it does. We'll call this FA for forearm A. Save it. And since I changed the safe X distance, I'm going to save that default too. Okay. Now I'm going to open up mock. Home it. And I'm just going to zero everything right here just for the heck of it and try loading that program, forearm A. It looks good on here. And if I look at the G code, okay, I got my 30-inch feed rate. Starts out Z 1 inch above the part. It rapids to the safe dimension 2.2 inches away. Then it feeds to the tailstock 13 7/8. Then it goes down to the cutting depth -1.5 inches, feeds into the part, and then it cuts the taper. Rapids out, goes back to the tailstock, feeds in, cuts the taper. Rapids out, back to the tailstock, feeds in, cuts the taper, and then down one more time. That looks pretty good. We'll give that a run. Okay, now we're going to try that one more time, but this time I'm going to try the cutting in both directions. So all I have to do, I can leave all this stuff the same, cut in both directions, create the NC file, and I'll call it forearm B, FB, and save that. Go over to mock, load the G code, FB, and let's take a look at that. Okay, starts at Z1, goes to X -2.2, but then Y to 0.250. Okay, so here, what it's doing, instead of starting at the tailstock, it's starting by the headstock. It feeds down to the cutting depth, feeds into the piece, then it cuts the taper towards the tailstock. Then it feeds back in again, cuts the taper the other direction, feeds in a little more, taper again. Ah, that looks good. Let's try that out too. Okay, now let's say that a month has gone by and I want to take another cut on these forearms. What I can do, basically I can use all this same information here. But instead of cutting them to 9-inch, let's say I want to take them down to 0.950. I can use the same feed rate, same length, same cutter diameter, everything here, but I'm going to do that in one, let's do it in 2 passes. We don't even need 2 passes. We'll do that in 1 pass. That's only 25 on a side, and again, we're just roughing it. Just for the heck of it, I'll slow that down to 20. Everything else is the same. Create the NC file. We'll call that FA again. Save it. Yes, we'll replace it. And we'll go to load it. And see what it looks like. Now we got a nice short program. Z1 goes out to the safe distance, over to the tailstock, down to depth, feeds into the piece. 1 taper cut, back out to the safe distance, and back to where the Z is safe too. Quick and simple. Now, say I did this to all the forearms, and now I decide I want to take a 10th thou finish cut. All I have to do is go back into this program and change this diameter to 940. Maybe slow my feed rate down to 15 and go create NC file. I'll have to close this first. We'll go with the same name, FA, save it, load the G code. There we go, same thing, but it's shifted in. It's going in 5 thousandths deeper on the side this time. That's all it took to create a new program. Say we want to go to 935. Boom. Create the NC file, save. Yes. It won't let me do it because it's still loaded in here. So I'll close this out. Continue. Create the NC file. Save it. Yes. And I just made a new program. All I have to do is hit cycle start and I'm good to go. Nice program, Kelly. You did good.